A very good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Design Meetup 2.0, powered by IXTF Kerala and co sponsored by Experion Technologies. I'd like to ask all our guests who've joined in today to drop in what you're doing. If you're a UX designer, a UI designer, a developer, a working professional or a student, an aspiring designer, please write in the chat window. Okay, I can see. Okay, we have a UX designer, UX UI, Ganesh, UI developer, Sanchu is a UI designer, another UI designer. Okay, great. Okay. Keep the messages coming in. Thank you. From room size screens to tiny wearables to holographic projections, screens are undergoing a tectonic shift. And this poses new challenges, especially when it comes to designing screens for wearables. Our speaker today is going to talk to us about designing for wearables, things to keep in mind. Coming to our speaker, he's a UX designer with a work experience of over 4 years in design. He comes from a beautiful town called Toduvura, nestled in Idukki district in Kerala. He loves playing cricket and is a travel enthusiast. He's extremely passionate about design and believes in always learning. So I'd like to invite our speaker for today, Joet Joseph. Over to you, Joet.
Thank you, Vandana. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're quite clear.
Okay, Vandana. Thank you. So, wearable devices might just be the hottest technology since the iPhone. The popularity of wearable devices is getting higher day by day, and there are millions of wearable devices in the market today, like watches, wristbands, glasses, earphones, and rings, and even more are coming. The first wearable I saw was a fitness tracking wearable, and I was really excited at how we could wear technology in such a compact form. So if you haven't designed for these kinds of devices, chances are you will have to soon. So here we are mostly talking about watches because of the visual design element in that they present. But wearable devices present a set of challenges when it comes to designing. They have certain limitations such as small screen space as compared with mobile and desktop devices and less information density so that we could avoid displaying too much information on a screen at once and having limited battery life. So from a designer's perspective, we should keep animations and other things short and reduce the number of animations. And people using wearables may be regularly in motion, like they were in traveling or doing physical activities like running. So it's quite difficult for them to use. And there are certain security concerns like as wearable devices displays many personal informations. So the security concerns are quite high as compared with mobile and web devices. So there are certain things we should keep in mind while designing for wearables. We are going to discuss about all those things. The first we discuss about glanceability and importance of lightweight interactions and keep it simple principle, in importance of in minimizing the interruptions and how to produce more give more privacy for the user, and importance of non-visual interfaces and interacting with other devices, and finally designing for offline usages. So first is glanceability. As we know, glanceability refers to the information being designed for short moments of interaction. At the beginning of wearable technology, we were first introduced to the concept through screenless fitness trackers, which those are rely on lights to explain what exactly going on with the wearable as in the image. Making a UI glanceable is less about reducing the interface down to its most basic visual feedback. Actually, it's about figuring out what exactly the user needs to see at a given moment of time. For wearables limited screen, we must focus on displaying only the most critical information. A user should be able to consume the content made for a smartwatch in less than a few seconds. We know that the context is the backbone of our design and we should use it to provide specific information at a glance. Designing for wearables is designing for the context. The smart devices are full of sensors and it's possible to utilize built-in device sensors to determine user context. In the first image, user can easily understand and take decision about what exactly going on with the wearable. But in the second case, it's quite difficult on the scenario. For example, be aware when the user is using a service like geolocation services, and help enhance the user experience by making the context relevant information glanceable. Like if the user turned on the map and navigating to a place, then the first preference should be always given to that particular activity. Another is using lightweight interactions. In the case of desktop and mobile applications, they might consider a user session measured in minutes or even hours. But in case of wearables, those experiences are completely different. They should be as short as possible. If a user interaction takes more than a few seconds, like more than 5 to 10 seconds, it's time to go back to our drawing board and redesigning our interface. Minimizing the interactions and keeping the interface simple by only showing what essential for the user to complete a task. For example, when a user have to reply to a message using his smartwatch, don't show him the entire input form. A better way is to offer a quick predefined response and provide a voice input option in the wearable if a longer response is required. So, as the saying, don't make the user think what he have to do with the screen. Next is the keep it simple principle. The well-known KISS principle is even more relevant in the domain of wearables than in desktop or mobile user interfaces. When working on wearable UX, avoid the temptation to put as many features and information in the wearable. Like the saying, too many options may make a paralysis. So don't put more actions or information than the user needs, or otherwise it will disrupt the experience. Instead, focus on just a single use cases and cover it by creating an efficient flow that help users to complete his task quickly. And it will also help them to make the information more glanceable. So make interactions as easy as possible. Design regular and focused tasks, and user should be able to do and see not more than few things at the same time. There are certain rules we can follow for better user experience. That are using sharp contrast. We know that contrast is very important in small screens, as it makes the element easy to read things at a glance. So test our user interface in real world environment will help us. And another is using simple typography. We all might have a tendency to go for a little fancy or for our we all have some favorite fonts. But when it comes to the typeface of wearable devices, a simple sans serif is one of the readable options, or San Francisco is the system font in Apple, and Roboto Contents is the primary font that are used in the Google Wear OS. Another thing is spacing. Spacing can make or break a design on a small screen. If you put too much space between the elements, there won't be room for other contents. So, and in the other hand, if you put too little space between them, it will hard to see or read. Thus, you have to find a proper balance that will help you to provide function and making a wearable UI glanceable, minimizing the interruption. Even on large screen smartphones, incoming notifications and alerts are often disruptive. But when wearable devices requires a lot of attention, this can make people irritated. Unlike a mobile device buzzing in your pocket, but it's completely different thing to have something buzzing your right against your skin. So in this case also, we can follow certain rules while designing for notifications in wearables. First one is we can reduce the number of notifications. The information pushed to a user in a wearable should be filtered. That is, the frequency of notifications should be minimal so the device doesn't constantly nag and irritate the person who is wearing it. And these notifications should be easy to dismiss too. Another is pushing valuable information to the user. When you do need to notify a user, we should make sure that the notification is valuable for the user. A positive interruption can create a great user experience, but it requires an understanding of what exactly the user needs at the relevant time. So pushing relevant information at the right point of time is the key to great wearable app with a great user experience. And last one is using giving them customization privilege. It's possible to design a better wearable UX by allowing the user to configure and control the timing and the type of notification they receive and allow them to easily disable them when needed. So also make it possible for the users to select how they would like to be notified. Some people may prefer a vibration and a screen glow, and while others maybe select for just a screen glow. Next is respecting the privacy of the user. Compare with the mobile and web devices, wearable devices can display extremely personal information such as private conversations or health data, and unlike smartphones, which are usually concealed in a pocket, wearables are in a plain sight. So, given a choice, designers should always opt for more privacy in wearable user interface. Be aware of which way the device is facing and display the content accordingly. Like inward allows for more personal content to be displayed, and the outward should default to a blank screen. The same applies in notification case. Like we said, we should vibrate first and display second, so that when the device is vibrating, the user should understand that some notifications is coming and he can do according to that. Next is leverage for non-visual user interface. The famous saying that the best interface is no interface. This especially holds true when the wearables are involved. When designing for wearable UX, we should try to utilize not only the touch, but definitely should use the maximum of sound and vibrational communication. Consider the voice input to compose a text for a message or to schedule activities and notify the users with vibrations and sounds. So try to utilize the maximum from artificial intelligence, like we use Google Assistant or Siri and so on. Next is interaction with other devices. When designing for wearables, we shouldn't think of those devices in isolation. It's important to integrate a wearable with existing devices in a user digital ecosystem. For example, a blood pressure monitor and a health companion app for a smartwatch might be used to collect the data, but the review and analysis of the data collected can be done using a smartphone. By connecting with smartphone, maybe the user can share with a medical professional and analyze the user's health. Also, for athletes, using wearables can analyze their running pace and progress in their smartphones, and so on. The final one is designing for offline usage. Like any other digital devices, wearable will experience connectivity problems. When you design for wearable user interface, you should always try to provide the core functionalities in the offline mode. It might not be possible all the time, but if it's impossible to do, then we should at least try to explain the user what exactly happening with the wearable. Here in the images, the Apple Watch can't load the image because there is no internet connection, but the watch tells the user that it couldn't connect to the internet. So the principles of wearable user interfaces might come off boring in their simplicity, but regardless of their device size or scale, we can use them to create a design that works. Remember, whether you are designing for a desktop or mobile or wearables, every interface should be designed to empower a user to perform a desired activity more quickly and easily. Although this is true for every interface platform and not just for wearables. And thank you for this opportunity to talk about designing for wearables. And there is so much more we can explore and learn about this topic. And I would like to hear from you if you have designed for wearables or your experience in using wearables and your queries. Thank you.
Thank you, Joet, for such a wonderful session. I'm sure our audience has gained some perspective on designing for wearables. As a UX designer myself, this is a really interesting topic. And I think it's quite important for us to learn to design for smaller screens and the limitations that it imposes. A recorded version of this webinar will be available on our YouTube channel. We'd like to now open up the floor for questions. Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask Joet as many questions as you want. We have some time, so you can type in the chat window if you'd like, or you can just ask away. So Joet, I think I'll start because when I think of wearables, I think of who it can be the most useful for, right? Like a lot of us, for us, it is a luxury, but there are people who are differently abled.
Yes.
It may be a visually impaired person, or any kind of disability. So can you just maybe speak a little about designing for differently abled people?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Vandana. Actually, differently able to people can use use the maximum of wearables. Like when we designing for wearables for considering for the differently able to people too, we are designing with using the voice inputs, so that if for blind visually disabled people, they can give voice inputs and do things according to that, and using the maximum from notifications and vibrations, so that they can sense with their skin. It would be easy for them to understand what exactly the user, happening to the user. And for from the perspective of a UI designer, when we are designing for people having a color, we should consider people with color blindness. So we should definitely choose colors according to that. And in certain wearables, wearable watches from Samsung and some other brands, they are having some movable parts like their dial. So by moving all those things, they can navigate through pages, and that would be very helpful for them. Kendra.
Thank you, Joet. Is there anyone else who'd like to ask a question? I think everyone's a little shy.
I have a question. It's like uh, I have I have experience designing for the wearable. So I was just thinking, like, if Joet can share some of his thoughts about the relevance and importance of like prototypes, like rather than prototype, a storyboard when you like design for a wearable. So I can give a context, like, recently what happened in football was, like, there was a ghost goal which left unnoticed. So the one team, like, they actually lost the goal. So in international football, there is some mechanism. I don't actually know the rules of the football, but technically, like, there is a line when it, like, crosses, like when the ball crosses the line and when it lands, like, if that line is crossed, the referee gets a notification on his watch. So that's a story, and that is what, like, that system is trying to communicate to the referee, and then referee back to the system, and I mean the whole football and the complete system. So storyboarding is something, I think, like, it's a bit important. So I would like to hear what Joet has to say on that. So
Okay, that's a nice question, Yadu. Um, as in any UX design, we have to clearly define our user group, and should narrow down to the user group according to the certain scenarios. There may be people like athletes or foodies or old people who are using wearables for certain reasons. So we should write down the use cases, that exactly what the user looking for, and just predict and explore the user experience with the product. And when creating the storyboard for wearables, what differentiate wearables from mobile application and web screens are the shape and the features. So we do not only focus on the touch screens, we may use the maximum of sensors, and in case of watches, the dial and the voice inputs and so on. So create some doodles indicating what all the possible operations that can be done with the wearables, and drawing images for understanding, in case of watches, the tapping and navigating information, and especially in the case of you said about football, we can do different use cases with the gesture movements too. Is that all clear, Idu?
yeah, yes. I just wanted to, like, hear, like, how you think, what you think about that. But that was like insightful. Like, yeah, I guess for everyone as well. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for asking, Yadu. I think what Joyet had to say was basically, you have a dial or you have a button. There's a certain way you interact with the device. So maybe you can do a sketch of the device, clearly list out what each button or screen does for the user, and then probably you can have different views of the product. And then from there, when you do a storyboard, while you also do a fun doodle of the person, the goal that went into the net but then got unnoticed, So you can probably even have like, that they continued playing. But you can probably write that the goal was missed. And then you can show the device and how what notification comes, which probably is a way to approach. I think there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, if you have something to share, also go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the most important thing, which actually ensures is will be empathy. So that's my from my personal experience, and I try to keep it in every UX I design, whether it's for wearable or not. But this thing is actually, see, imagine not every one of us exercise daily, but you have maybe set some 8,000 steps or 10,000 steps by default in your watch, and you actually don't do the exercise, but someday if you are out for something and you parked your vehicle and you roam around somewhere, you come back home and you see that you have reached that final goal of reaching that 10,000 steps. And then you, rather than getting just finished your you have achieved your goal, just a tick mark, rather than that, there are some kind of animations that tells you have done something. I mean, you have burned a little calorie, and you have done something. Man, you don't do this every day, but today you have achieved something. That kind of that's a story, right?
That,
The watch, your assistant is telling you that you have done something great today. Maybe it can motivate me the next day, right? So
yeah, I
that's
think
how I think empathy, when it connects to that story and that storyboard, maybe if that's a character I like, or if that's some animation I like, it's saying that you have done something. So yeah, that is something I wanted to share.
I
And
think from Facebook Live,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
would
anything
also
that
support that
gives
because
instant gratification, I think.
I would also support
Yeah,
that
go ahead,
because
please go ahead.
I had a device, a fitness band, and whenever it gave that animation that you have finished your goal of these many steps, the happiness it gives you uh, empowers you to follow your goal every single day. Then, and I am unable to unmute myself, so I'll just read my question then.
Go ahead.
So I have a total of three questions. So, if we need to design for multiple screen sizes, is there any way to do it?
Yeah, definitely we should design for multiple kinds of screens. Especially in the case of certain brands have not a standardized size, like some of the Samsung watches have a circular shape, and some of the Apple watches having a rectangular shape with an ovals in the corner. So we should definitely design for multiple screens, because in the case of like the circular screens, we can do a grid designs are perfectly as a rectangle, and as having small area, it's better to reduce the screen number of pages in wearables too, and including every available options will definitely make a bad interface. So try to include only the core functionalities for the better experience.
So, is there any way to basically just make one design and convert it into multiple screen sizes for usage?
Um, Piyush, just to add to what Joet has mentioned, one probable thing we can do is uh, at the moment, even though we have n number of brands available in the field of wearable devices and smartwatches or fitness band, but that industry or the entire spectrum is not that mature enough at the moment. Still, they are refining each versions of the watches you get will have a definite improvement to the previous versions. So
Correct.
it's always good to stick to the respective guidelines of the respective OSs. Like if you are building something for Apple watches, it's good to stick to the Apple human interface guidelines. And if you are designing something for Android Wear OS, stick to that guidelines very, very thoroughly. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to uh, like uh, um, uh, make it versatile for or inclusive for all the users, different type of users and the platform your app is going to install. So at the moment, it's very straightforward. Like if you follow the guidelines from the brands or the native OS supporters, probably we'll be able to meet the needs of the most of the spectrum of the users. Plus,
Okay.
plus one thing is like you pointed about, is there any quick way to resize the design? So
Yes.
there are the editors or the UI design tools at the moment have some kind of features to accomplish this particular requirement. One example I could point is like in Figma, you have a provision to define the constraints when you define a canvas, and one if you are designing based on the constraints, and when you resize the canvas size, the design will, all the components inside that design will automatically resize to an extent, but it's not that perfect. But there are ways at the moment. The editors or the UI editing tools are getting mature to handle the situation.
Correct.
It's quite tricky. Piyush, thank you for asking. I think you have 2 more questions. Please go ahead.
Yeah. And like how there are do not disturb mode on is there on the phone, shouldn't it be there on the watch also? Because sometimes the user might not like at some particular time to be disturbed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's actually there with some phones. Like, I have a theater mode on my phone. That's actually like, if you see that, like this one, like the first icon here is a theater mode. So maybe I can set it for like 1 hour or 2 hour or so. So in that case, like, it will not give you notifications. It will not disturb you with vibrations and all that. So this is a Samsung device, but like, it can be different for different devices. So I don't have experience with an Apple Watch or something, or other Android watches, but this has it. I think that's a good feature to have.
I have used two devices now. Previous was my Fitbit, and right now I'm using the Xiaomi Band 5. And Fitbit didn't have anything as do not disturb, but Xiaomi Band 5 has like little bit, but still it's, I don't think it's up to the mark.
Piyush, probably you are correct. Piyush. Some the expensive ones probably they have all these fancy features. Fancy. It's not DND. It's not a fancy feature, but they have this Samsung. Most of the expensive ones at the moment. So it's the wearable devices are very expensive, right? So
Yeah,
compared to the normal watches. So so as Yadu mentioned, even I can see the theater mode, night mode, sleep mode, plus a do not disturb mode as well. Like you can specify how much time you want your watch should not disturb you. Like I don't know whether you can see this,
I can see.
but some watches have these features, but it should be there. Like as a user, it's your choice, right? The watch should not know in which context you are going to use the device, right? So
Yes,
all these features should be there. It's a user need basically.
Yeah, adding to that,
correct.
just a small thing
And
to share is like, when it comes to accessibility, since Joyet was mentioning about accessibility, there is a water mode which actually, is very interesting. That, like, if you are like riding or cycling in rain, if the water mode is on, phone won't, like, interact like itself. It won't automatically do any tasks. So if you turn on the water mode, even if, like, there are drops like falling on your the dial of the watch, it won't make a call. It won't go to any other screen. But if the water mode is not turned on, like, some mishaps can happen, like, just like maybe it's automatically opening some features, or like, closing something like that. So that is something, that's a good accessibility feature. I just wanted to mention.
Thank you, Yadu. Piyush,
I
you
agree.
one more. Is it?
Yeah. As you would have seen from the chat itself, this I think almost everyone faces. While typing, you usually mistype once in every few minutes. Like I tried to backspace F and then type LF, but instead, just under that, the key for the slash was there, and that got pressed, and I didn't even recognize that at the moment of sending it. After sending it, I noticed that. So I think there should be something like a vibrating something, so that when we are pressing something, it should be there, and when we are erasing something, a different kind of vibration, so that we can feel and catch the mistakes sooner.
I think autocorrect itself gives us all the biggest jokes for us to quite laugh. And I think, I mean, imagine, doing all this on an even smaller screen, the challenges, uh,
Yeah,
which definitely calls for us to even, expand our skills. So definitely that's something. So you answered your own question, I believe, to some extent. Or does anyone want to also comment on that?
I think Piyush has answered that very well. Like the feedback is one basic usability principle we need to follow as a designer. So even it's on a small screen or a bigger screen, the feedback for a user should be very clear and understandable. So that's one of the basic principle we need to follow. And completely agree with Piyush, what Piyush has mentioned, like the haptic feedback on wearables. That um, would be useful in the sense even for the people who mostly require the accessibility needs also.
Does anyone else want to unmute or type in a question in the chat window? Um, we have someone who's joined in from Spain, Karina. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name. Is it possible for you to unmute yourself and probably ask us? Um, yeah, I think I'd like to also kind of probably raise a point for discussion about, how about not having universal chargers or the limitations of, yes, you have your watch, but you have to carry the charger along. So would someone like to comment on, whatever difficulties they face, probably? Anyone?
I would surely like that the phone charger and the watch charger is same, because we don't have to carry two cables, and the watch cable is pretty small, so it's pretty easy to lose that, and pretty difficult to buy another one on the net.
Yeah, I guess it should be a type C one, or like any common thing. I have reasons, I have like evidences. So one is this. See, like this thing here, it's broken now. So when you travel, you unplug this and like carry and then plug it. And if you don't have enough light or like if you are in a hurry, I actually broke it. Okay. And another thing, if you have to place the watch on this. So sometimes if the watch is not like correctly placed, it keeps vibrating like boom 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 at the night like full time. If there is no sound in your room, you hear that like most often, and it's too annoying. So there should be a connecting universal stuff.
I think one more, the challenge of the cost. I mean, like when we talk about it being really useful for people with differently, who are differently abled, or I think the cost comes into, it's a very important thing. So, does anyone want to comment on it not being accessible to the people who really need it?
I would have said that maybe a little bit back, because I didn't know about the Xiaomi band, but the Xiaomi band is pretty cheap, just 3000 rupees. So the other smartwatches or fitness bands, at least they are 6 to 7,000 rupees, which not all the people can afford. And if they afford and lose it, it's a disaster for them.
Correct, correct.
How is the battery life working for you?
Good enough. It's working like maybe I would last 8 to 10 days on a single charge.
Wow, okay.
Cool.
Does anyone want to comment on their expensive watches
Yeah.
about the
The
battery life?
Galaxy Watch, it's like if you're lucky enough, if you get one day, 24-hour maximum. So it's a bit tricky. Like there should be like on the charger part. I believe that there should be the charging part, not just the wearables, mobile phones, and the laptop. It should have a universal charger. That's something will be very useful for all the people. Like so you don't know when you don't have to carry all the stuffs when you travel, right? So that's one thing. And the battery life, that's also very tricky. Like if you don't have a charger, your watch will die in 8 to 6 hours time, or maximum 12 hours time. That's very annoying. So
I would like to comment on that, Jinson. Uh, I had forgotten to charge my watch at the home, and I was traveling, so there was no way of plugging it somewhere. So
mhm.
I just thought I had my phone's power bank. I just hooked it up, and it was charging. But the moment I unplugged it, it had at least previously 15%. After that, it had 0%, even though I had charged it fully. Has anyone ever faced this issue?
Yeah, this keeps happening. To like I don't remember. It's not. What's
Actually, it's called reverse charging, I think.
Or maybe you could say the charger, the only the cable was storing the charge, and as soon as it got disconnected, the whole charge went away with it.
Yeah, chargers has become a very expensive thing that people started not giving it with the phones. So
I think I think this looks like, we should all write down our pain points and put all of us in one room and then like brainstorm and think about how we can look at it.
one big hassle is like if you're traveling, like if you are traveling air, during the security check, you have to pull everything down. I mean, you open your bag, like you have a laptop charger, mobile charger, watch charger, and then if you forget one, then one way you are screwed.
One device will not power up then.
Yeah. So watch is fine, but imagine you didn't take your laptop charger.
Yeah, that would be a disaster because laptop is the mode of working nowadays.
Yeah.
We have one question for Joyet. Before that, I'd like to really request everyone to fill in the feedback form that we've shared in the chat window. Meanwhile, here's a question for you, Joyet. Please take the time to fill in the form because we'd love to improve our sessions. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions or how you like the session. But meanwhile, here's for you, Joyet. Are you there?
Yes,
So, what is better for a wearable? Like cards, like you have pagination, or grids? What works best? Like in which scenarios, maybe you could.
Okay. In both cases, as these devices are having only a small area, it's better to reduce the number of pages in wearables always. Including every available options will definitely lead to a bad experience for the user. So always try to use the most critical and core functionality for better user experience. Like if you are designing for a Facebook application for a wearable, suppose if you may can show the designs like for coming notifications and showing the profile all those particular small things. But imagine if you are trying to design for a wearable with editing profile option, and all those things would be definitely lead to a bad experience. So always try to give the core functionalities for better experience, and always remember the shapes of the all those wearables might not be in a rectangular form. So uh, it should be easily tappable and use a maximum of centralizing the contents. And another thing is like convey the things directly to the user as possible.
I
Hi,
don't think
Vandana.
anything
Yeah,
lacked here in this session. I got all my questions answered.
Okay.
yeah. Hi, Vandana. Kiran here.
Hi,
Actually,
Kiran. Yeah.
yeah. Hi. Yeah, I was thinking like, I was also expecting something like the wearables in our, like the Google glasses. So I think we mostly covered about the watches, smart watches. So I was more thinking about how those things would work like on the wearables, like the things which already vanished, like Google Lens, Google Glasses. So I've heard like even Apple is working on something about Google Glasses, about something of their version. So I've been yeah curious about that, how it would work. And yeah, I thought it would be really interesting, like if we could include something
Yeah.
about that kind of wearables as well.
Definitely, I think. I mean, like we have a half an hour session, so I think Joyet had no choice but choose one. But definitely, like all other wearables, like if it is a visually impaired person, would the lens help with assisting the person, in certain ways in terms of not running into an object or. Does anyone have any views about these devices that probably didn't really you know come to the masses?
I think
One has partially come to the masses, which is the Microsoft HoloLens, but you need a fortune to buy one of those. But if it is made cheap enough, it can really help blind users move around, because it can give voice cues that someone is there in front of you, or this particular person, if he has saved his or her face, can tell that this particular person is in front of you.
Okay.
Just to add one sentence to what Kiran and Piyush has mentioned, like the wearables it's a vast area, and there could be n number of possibility to support the humankind using the wearables as such. But as we mentioned earlier, it's not a mature market at the moment. Market in the sense in terms of the research and the making it cost effective for the most of the people. Um, in that sense, it's not that matured enough. But technology is there. But of course, you will get to see most different kind of wearables in near future. But the only one thing more masses use at the moment is the smartwatch domain. Like most people are using, especially for in the area of fitness. So that is a core useful area at the moment. But the other areas are maturing, and definitely you will get to see different things soon. Like as Piyush mentioned, the Microsoft Glass and the Google Glass, they were very expensive and they were in the prototype stage, very expensive, but it's hard to market for the common people.
Exactly.
I think it's also important to consider that with certain wearables, privacy is a huge concern. Like, would you allow an employee to use this wearable and step into the office? How can it affect, the company policy about, the privacy of your content? Your client can sue you. There are so many things. So I think maybe some restrictions of why it didn't really scale up, or the affordability factor is probably keeping in check a lot of things.
was that like certain devices were was for like niche customers. So there was an NFC ring and Google glasses, and like there are other small smart devices. So like what actually happened to the watch could actually have a small screen on your like wrist, and it could like it can actually like check your pulse. So and then like Apple Watch can check your ECG. It can also detect the fault and send SOS messages to your like emergency contacts. So wrist is a part like where you can have like, and like that watch kind of feel. And people who are wearing a ring and a watch and an NFC ring and a watch or a goggles would be different. Like I think the customer base will be different. So, and also technology could pack a lot of stuff into a watch, like, very easily. There are watches from which you can attend calls and talk. So those are things, like, that we have to yet explore on other devices. So it might come, and, like, it should evolve a little more, is what I feel about that.
I think Piyush, to add to that, I would say Spider-Man's words: "With great power comes great responsibility." I think we are growing very fast. So, but are there enough rules? The government who's ruling, how tech savvy are there to bring in laws that will make sure that people are not being exploited, or to what extent data is being exploited. So that's what I talked about, being evolved or not. But let's see. I think we don't have control over a lot of things. But maybe as designers, we probably can have a lot of empathy and be ethical. Yeah, so is there anyone else who'd like to share the experience? We probably Ganesh, Karina, Hunar, anyone from the audience? Okay, so I've shared all the social media handles. We will be uploading the YouTube video recording of this meeting. And I'd especially like to thank each and everyone who took their valuable time from a busy day to attend this webinar. Special thanks to all the participants, Yadu, Piyush, Jinsen, Kiran. Thank you so much for making this a discussion, because we're all learning from each other. Thank you for making this Q&A quite interactive and fun. We've only just touched a bit of the designing for wearables. Like Kiran said, there's so much more that we can talk about and learn about. If you would like to go into more details, please do write to us. We would like to come back with another webinar on it. We are available on social media like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and at okay. Thank you. I've shared all the social media handles. Thank you, Joet, for taking this time and for coming and talking to us, for enlightening us with all the information. I hope to see you soon, probably in 2 weeks. And please follow us on social media to be updated. Thank you so much.